Thursday, September 25, 2025. Welcome to the News El Salvador SV podcast, a space for conversation and reflection where we explore current affairs in El Salvador and around the world together. Look for this podcast on Pandora in the United States and TuneIn Radio worldwide. Also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Deezer. Google Noticias El Salvador SV and you'll find many options. On PayPal, you'll find the username in the description of this podcast. We're growing, and your contributions keep us growing and connected. You'll find our contacts in the content description. Follow us, share, and comment. Welcome, everyone, to The Deep Dive. Today, we've got quite a bit to get through from the last 48 hours. It feels like two totally different worlds colliding.
It really does. We're looking at, on one hand, this incredibly complex international crime operation being exposed.
Right, the Escudo Virtual case. We'll definitely get into that.
And then completely switching gears, the sheer drama and emotion pouring out of our national sports scene, it's intense.
So our mission today is to really unpack both. We want to understand the hidden mechanics of this sophisticated cybercrime network.
Which, fascinatingly, has roots reaching into prisons in Colombia.
Exactly. And then contrast that with the very public, very passionate world of, mainly football this week, but also looking ahead to the Olympics.
It's a real study in contrast, isn't it?
Yeah.
The hidden versus the hyper-visible. We'll start with the security bust, this Escudo Virtual. It's a major story.
Okay, let's dive into Escudo Virtual. The reports confirm it's a transnational criminal group operating with what they call a Colombian mafia modality. The security cabinet managed to partially dismantle it.
Yeah, partially is key, but it's a significant blow. Their whole game was theft, robbery, money laundering. But the tools were modern. We're talking informatic means, social media, WhatsApp.
So less guns, more keyboards, and fake profiles.
Pretty much. It's a digital confidence scheme, essentially. And they were exploiting Salvadorans, using them as financial mules. That's the term they're using.
Financial mules. We'll need to break down what that means. When did this investigation even start?
It kicked off back in May 2025. Seems there was a flood of public complaints, people realizing they'd been scammed. That got the ball rolling.
And do we have a sense of the scale? How much money are we talking about?
The official figure, and this is likely conservative, is at least $6 million, defrauded or laundered.
$6 million. That's significant. That's a serious amount of capital being pulled out of the economy.
Absolutely. And the most, frankly, shocking part, confirmed by the Minister of Security, is where a lot of this was being orchestrated from.
This is the part that really grabbed me. Go on.
Call centers, operating from inside Colombian prisons.
Inside prisons? How is that even possible? You'd think security would prevent that.
It highlights a huge challenge, jurisdiction, international cooperation. Yeah. It moves slowly. These groups exploit that lag time. The security cabinet basically said they couldn't wait for the usual bureaucratic channels while people here were losing money.
So the masterminds are potentially inmates in another country, pulling strings digitally. How does that translate into $6 million stolen here? There's this pyramid structure, right? 5 tiers.
Exactly. It's structured almost like a corporation, designed for maximum deniability at the top.
Okay, let's walk through it. Level 1.
Level 1. The jeffes, the bosses. They're making the big strategic calls, ordering the types of crimes, deciding where to expand. They're completely insulated, way above the actual transactions.
Got it. The strategists. Level 2.
That's the engine room, the call centers.
Yeah.
Based inside or maybe just outside those prisons. These are the people actually contacting victims.
Oh, social media.
Yeah, social media, WhatsApp are big ones. They identify targets, engage them, carry out the extortion, and then tell the victim exactly where to send the money. Could be a bank account, Western Union, even a digital wallet sometimes.
Okay. Then level 3 must bridge the gap internationally.
Precisely. The administradores transnacionales, often Colombian citizens. They might travel or just manage things remotely across different countries. Their job is crucial. Recruiting local personnel.
Like the mules.
Exactly. And setting up the infrastructure, like fake job websites to hook people, managing the bigger bank accounts, dealing with cryptocurrencies to move funds around. They're like the regional managers.
Which leads to level 4, the local managers.
You got it. The administradores nacionales, these are the supervisors on the ground here in El Salvador. Yeah. They find and manage the local bank accounts needed for the initial deposits. They oversee the cash flow from the scams within the country, taking a commission. They're the link between the international bosses and the street-level operation.
And finally, level 5, the most vulnerable group, I imagine.
Definitely. The mules financieras, the financial mules. These are ordinary Salvadorans. They might be recruited online, maybe even in person, sometimes thinking it's a legitimate, if slightly shady way to earn easy money.
And what do they actually do?
They provide their personal bank accounts, The stolen money gets deposited there. Then, on instruction, they have to act fast.
Withdraw the cash.
Withdraw the cash, yes. But then, critically, often they're told to convert it into cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, whatever, using platforms like Binance or similar digital wallets, or sometimes send it as a remittance directly back to Colombia.
Why crypto?
Because it makes the money almost instantly borderless and much harder to trace. It zips up the pyramid out of the country before accounts can be frozen. It's fast, efficient, and anonymous for the network bosses.
Leaving the mule.
Holding the bag, the account is flagged, the mule is identified, while the organizers have already moved the value elsewhere. The authorities are crystal clear. Even if you just lent your account, you're legally implicated.
A really harsh reality. But the authorities didn't just react, they set a trap, right? For one of the big fish.
Yeah, it was pretty clever police work. They knew these administrators watched their money closely, so they identified a key bank account used by the network and froze it.
Baiting the hook.
Exactly. Yeah. That forced one of the Colombian transnational administrators, a level 3 guy, to physically come into the region to try and sort it out, figure out why the funds were blocked.
And they were waiting.
They were. They intercepted him after he landed in Guatemala at La Aurora Airport and then tracked him as he came into El Salvador. That arrest, which happened around September 20th, seems to have been the trigger for launching the full Escudo Virtual operation with all the warrants.
Wow. So how many people were targeted in total?
The warrants tell the story of the network's reach. 130 arrest warrants issued overall.
130.
Yep. 4 Colombians, 1 Venezuelan, 2 Guatemalans, and 123 Salvadoran citizens.
Mostly locals caught at the bottom.
That's right. And as of the latest reports, 81 of those Salvadorans are already detained.
Which brings us to this deadline. This is crucial for anyone listening who might be involved, even peripherally.
Absolutely critical. The Minister's security was very direct. There's a window of opportunity, but it's closing fast.
What's the deal?
Anyone who acted as a mula financiera, anyone who lent or used their bank account for these scams, has until September 30th. That's the deadline.
To do what?
To voluntarily go to the Attorney General's office, the FGR.
And confess?
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
To cooperate. They want testimony who recruited you. Which specific accounts did you use? The implication is that cooperating before the deadline might lead to some leniency, potentially treating them more as witnesses or collaborators than core criminals.
But after September 30th?
The hammer falls. The warning couldn't be clearer. Starting October 1st, anyone identified as a mule who hasn't come forward will be actively sought for capture. They'll face the full legal consequences of participating in cybercrime and money laundering. No more leniency.
That's a stark choice. A really important message to get out there. Okay, let's shift gears slightly, but stay within security and justice. There were other significant updates these past couple of days.
Yeah, a few key things. First, politically, there was a strong confirmation of alignment between El Salvador and the U.S. governments in fighting terrorism. This follows the U.S. formally designating gangs like MS-13 and Barrio 18 as terrorist groups.
So more official backing for the current anti-gang strategy.
Right, and we saw that strategy in action domestically too. The police arrested a Barrio 18 member in Soyapango. The detail that caught my eye was that he was trying to hide his tattoos under long sleeves.
Shows the pressure they're under. Can't display affiliation openly anymore.
Exactly. It's a small detail, but telling. And this is having a regional echo. Guatemala's Congress is now formally urging their own government to make a similar terrorist designation for gangs there.
Interesting. Okay, what about corruption cases? Any movement there?
Big news on that front. Remember the CP cases? The Port Authority?
Vaguely, yeah. Corruption allegations.
Well, sentences came down. Significant ones. We're talking up to 44 years in prison for some individuals, including former CP employees and connected gang members. The charges were related to rigging bids for contracts and creating fraudulent personnel hires.
44 years. That sends a message.
Absolutely. It shows the crackdown isn't just on street-level crime, but also targeting the kind of institutional corruption that enables it or drains public funds.
Any other notable sentences?
A couple more, smaller scale, but still important. Someone got 8 years in Santa Tecla for a motorcycle scam, basically tricking people out of their bikes. Another 8-year sentence for someone involved in a robbery near a bank. They apparently got away with about $6,500.
So hitting financial crime across the board.
Seems to be the focus. And tying back to our main story, authorities explicitly put out another warning separate from the minister's deadline, hammering home the legal danger of letting anyone use your bank account for cybercrime. Really doubling down on that message for the mules.
Got it. And quickly, any update on the Santa Marta case that's been ongoing?
Yes. The acquittal decision was finalized and announced. The defense lawyer made a point of publicly saying they hope the FGR doesn't appeal, adding they felt ready to win a third round if necessary.
Okay. And just a couple of quick government admin notes.
Yeah, minor but relevant. The current administration highlighted they were remodeling the Mercado Cuscatlán and made a point of noting the previous administration, under Ernesto Moixant from 2018-2021, had apparently abandoned the project.
A little political jab there.
Seems like it. And the other thing, the new state cybersecurity agency has set its price tag for services to other public institutions. It'll cost them just under $47,000 a year.
Okay, standardizing cybersecurity costs across government. Makes sense.
Right.
All right, that wraps up the security and justice block now. Let's pivot. Hard. We're dedicating the majority of the rest of our time to the world of national sports. Because wow, the last couple of days in the Apertura 2025, just incredible drama.
Incredible is the word. The results from Wednesday, September 24th, have completely shaken things up. It was pure emotion, highs and lows.
Thursday, September 25, 2025. Welcome to the News El Salvador SV podcast, a space for conversation and reflection where we explore current affairs in El Salvador and around the world together. Look for this podcast on Pandora in the United States and TuneIn Radio worldwide. Also on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and Deezer. Google Noticias El Salvador SV, and you'll find many options. On PayPal, you'll find the username in the description of this podcast. We're growing, and your contributions keep us growing and connected. You'll find our contacts in the content description. Follow us, share, and comment.
Okay, back into the thick of it. Apertura 2025. Let's start right at the top. Alianza. They got the win against Cacahuatic, but it sounds like it was anything but easy.
Oh, it was a nail-biter. Down to the absolute wire. They snatched the victory with a goal deep into compensation time.
Who scored?
Mario Jacobo, a defender no less, popping up to score an absolutely agonizing last-gasp winner. It wasn't just 3 points. It broke Cacahuatic's unbeaten streak and crucially pulled Alianza level with Firpo at the top of the table, both on 30 points now.
Wow. Talk about clutch. That must feel massive for them.
Huge momentum shift.
Right.
But while Alianza is celebrating that kind of dramatic win, the story for Águila, well, it's the complete opposite. It's grim.
The reports use the phrase sinister story. What happened?
They lost. Again. That makes it 6 consecutive defeats for Águila in the Apertura.
6? For a club like Águila, that's unprecedented, isn't it?
It's catastrophic for a team with their history and expectations. It's way beyond a slump. Defender Eric Cabalcheta basically admitted it, saying the team is in a massive a deep hole and that they absolutely have to find a way out. Pressure must be immense on the coach, the players, everyone there.
Yeah, 6 losses in a row changes everything. What about FAS? They seem to be more stable.
FAS got the job done. They won at home against Hercules. Looked solid. Kevin Santamaria scored what was described as a spectacular goal, so they showed some flair too.
Good for them. But there was a downside to that win, right? Something concerning for the national team.
A major downside. Really worrying news. 2 players who are part of the national team setup picked up injuries during that FAS Hercules game.
Oh no. Who?
The reports didn't name them specifically in the snippet I saw, but confirmed 2 selected players injured. And add to that, after the Alianza game, 2 other key national players, Leo Menjivar and William Canales, apparently came off Tecados banged up, feeling knocks.
So potentially 4 national team players dealing with injuries from 1 round of league matches.
Exactly. That's a huge headache for the national coach, especially with World Cup qualifiers presumably on the horizon. It puts immediate pressure on squad depth and player management. You can't afford to lose key guys like this.
Absolutely. Okay, back to the league leaders. Firpo. They kept pace with Alianza.
They did. Show their quality. They went away to Zacatecoluca and came back with a win. Solid performance, keeping them right there at the top, tied on points.
How did Zacatecoluca take the loss?
Their captain, Dirson Mayen, was apparently very hard on himself and the team afterwards. Highly self-critical. You can feel the frustration when teams face Firpo right now. They set a high bar.
Okay. Any other results stand out from that match day?
A couple of significant ones for the teams involved. Limeño managed to beat Platense. And that was important because it was the first win for their new coach, El Zarco Rodríguez. Always a big psychological boost for a new manager to get that first victory.
Good for them.
And Inter-FA pulled off something impressive too. They got their first away win of the season, and they did it by coming from behind to beat Forte San Francisco. Shows resilience. These results in the middle of the table are keeping the playoff race really tight and unpredictable.
So much drama just in one round. But shifting tone now, the football community also had a very somber moment recently, paying tribute to a true legend.
Yes, the passing of Jaime La Chelona Rodríguez. The outpouring of respect and grief was immense. He was just such a foundational figure in Salvadoran, football player, coach, mentor.
Absolutely. And the comments from Magico Gonzalez, they seemed particularly personal.
They really did. Magico spoke from the heart. He said, quite simply, "We were family. It hurts me profoundly." That speaks volumes about their connection, forged over decades in the game. It's a reminder of the human bonds underneath all the competition.
A really touching tribute. And speaking of Magico, there was some other news involving him too, wasn't there? A formal honor.
Yes, wonderful news, actually. Jorge Magico Gonzalez was officially named Hijo Meritísimo Meritorious Son of San Salvador Centro, a fantastic and well-deserved recognition for arguably our greatest ever sporting figure and cultural ambassador.
Long overdue, many would say. Great to see. Did he have anything to say about the current national team?
He did, actually. Despite the sadness around Chelona, he offered some words of encouragement for the selecta looking towards the 2026 World Cup qualifiers. He spoke about needing to create a zona creer, a zone of belief.
What do you mean by that?
Basically, he emphasized that the key for the national team isn't just tactics or individual skill, but building a really strong shared identity and an unwavering collective confidence. It's about the mental game, the belief they can compete and succeed on the bigger stage.
A message of psychological strength. That's powerful coming from him.
Absolutely. And that focus on belief and preparation, it kind of mirrors what's happening with our athletes preparing for the upcoming Central American Games in Guatemala.
Right. The Olympic cycle is gearing up. What are we hearing there?
Well, several disciplines are really ramping up training with clear goals. The archery, fencing, and badminton teams are reportedly training intensely, and they're not just aiming to participate, they're explicitly targeting medals.
That's ambitious. Good to see. What else?
The women's volleyball team is also hard at work, preparing specifically for the Final Four tournament they have coming up in Costa Rica. Performing well in these regional events is key for building confidence and securing support.
And there was something about adaptive sports too, wasn't there?
Yes, really positive development. There's a specific initiative highlighted focused on developing adapted chess for blind athletes in El Salvador.
Chess for the blind. That's fantastic.
It really is. It's about inclusion, making sure that the benefits and opportunities of sport are available to everyone. It shows a broadening commitment beyond just the mainstream high-profile sports. Investing in adaptive sports can be incredibly impactful.
Absolutely agree. Okay, we've covered the national scene in depth. Let's quickly sweep through some key international sports headlines and other global news before we wrap up.
Sounds good. Big date confirmed in Spain. Real Madrid versus Barcelona, the Clásico, is set for October 26th. Get that one in your calendars.
Always a huge match. What else in football?
Well, a bit of fan power flexed. Supporters of both Villarreal and Barça apparently came out strongly against proposed plans to have their teams play a league match over in Miami.
The La Liga and the USA idea still bubbling.
Seems so, but the fans, at least for these clubs, made their opposition very clear. They want the big games kept local.
Interesting. Any player news?
PSG's Achraf Hakimi issued a strong denial regarding rape accusations against him. On a brighter note, young Barcelona star Lamine Yamal was named the best young player of 2025. Huge recognition for him.
Wow, best young player, big future there. And regionally.
In the Copa Centroamericana, Costa Rica's Alice Shalensi took a loss against Motagua from Honduras.
Okay. Now, stepping outside sports entirely, what were the major global headlines?
A massive one out of France. Former President Nicolas Sarkozy was convicted and actually sentenced to 5 years in prison. This was related to that long-running case involving alleged illegal financing from Libya's former leader, Gaddafi.
Sarkozy sentenced to prison. That's huge news internationally.
Definitely sends shockwaves. Elsewhere, a major crime story in California, an armed robbery involving over $1 million worth of jewels. Highly organized, very brazen.
$1 million in jewels. And something disturbing from Japan.
Yeah, a really unsettling story. A woman was arrested there for allegedly keeping her deceased daughter's body in a freezer. Reports suggest it might have been for as long as 20 years.
Good grief.
Yeah.
That's deeply disturbing. What about environmental news?
The drumbeat of climate change impact continues. A report came out showing that extreme heat waves between June and August this year affected a staggering 1.8 billion people worldwide, directly linking the intensity and frequency to climate change.
1.8 billion people impacted by extreme heat. And finally, something from Mexico.
Yes, authorities there detained 38 individuals who are presumed members of the La Luz del Mundo church group. The significant detail was that they were allegedly receiving military-style training at some kind of instruction field, raising a lot of questions.
Military training. Okay, that's definitely unusual and concerning. Right, let's bring it back home for a few final cultural and economic notes.
Good news for culture lovers. Suchitoto is gearing up for its annual Indigo Festival, the Festival del Añil. That's happening this coming weekend, September 27th and 28th. Always a beautiful event celebrating local craft.
Nice. And something about Miss Universe.
That's right. The big gala night for Miss Universe El Salvador 2025 is set for September 26th, taking place at the Palacio Tecleño. And looking ahead, it was confirmed that Puerto Rico will host the International Miss Universe pageant in 2026. That'll be the 75th anniversary edition.
Okay. And economically, any key sector updates?
Some positive projections from the sugar industry. The main industry association, the Gremial, is forecasting that they'll surpass 700,000 metric tons of production in the 2025-2026 harvest cycle.
Is that good?
It is. They're specifically aiming to recover from some losses they experienced in the previous cycle. So hitting that target would be a strong sign of recovery and stability for a really important agricultural export sector.
Good to hear some positive economic news. Okay, that brings us towards the end of this deep dive. Let's try and pull these threads together.
It's been quite the journey. We started deep inside a transnational cybercrime network.
Yeah, mapping out that 5-tier pyramid structure of the Escudo Virtual operation, run partly from Colombian prisons.
And emphasizing that critical September 30th deadline for the financial mules, the mules financieras, to come forward. It's a moment of choice, with serious legal consequences hanging in the balance.
Then we swung completely over to the national sports scene, the absolute emotional roller coaster of the Apertura 2025.
You had Alianza's last gasp winner tying them at the top with the ever-consistent Firpo, and then the sheer agony of Águila's historic losing streak, 6 games now. Just polar opposites.
And woven into that, the very real sadness and respect shown for Jaime Chelona Rodríguez, alongside the celebration of Magico Gonzalez being named Hijo Meritissimo, plus the quiet hope building around our Olympic hopefuls.
It really covers the spectrum. The hidden threat versus the very public passion. The fight against an invisible digital enemy contrasted with the roar of the crowd, the tears for a fallen hero.
Which leads us perfectly into our final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. We've talked about the need for cooperation and alignment to fight sophisticated crime like Escudo Virtual. The security forces stressed that.
And Magico Gonzalez stressed the need for collective belief that Zona career for the national football team to succeed. A shared identity.
So here's the question. Can that powerful shared emotional investment we see everywhere in national sports, the unity when the selecta scores, the collective grief for someone like Chelona, even the shared frustration with Águila's slump, can that provide a kind of social template?
You mean, can that sense of community identity and shared passion be harnessed, or at least serve as an analogy for the kind of public alignment and resilience we need to face down complex modern threats like large-scale cybercrime?
Exactly. What role does that deep-seated community feeling, so visible in sports, play when confronting challenges that require collective awareness and action, whether it's celebrating triumphs or tackling threats? Something to think about.
A fascinating connection to ponder. Thanks for tuning in for this deep dive with us.
Thursday, September 25, 2025. Welcome to the News El Salvador SV podcast, a space for conversation and reflection, where we explore current affairs in El Salvador and around the world together. Look for this podcast on Pandora in the United States and TuneIn Radio worldwide. Also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Deezer. Google Noticias El Salvador SV and you'll find many options. On PayPal,